The film opens in the early hours of Christmas Eve. A mysterious traveler meets with Russian mobsters at their Christmas tree farm. He places his gun on the counter and approaches a man to purchase a vehicle. The traveler hands the boss, Oleg, money. But after Oleg touches it, he starts to cough up blood and dies. Oleg's nephew Yuri comes in, and the traveler shoots him dead before setting the farm on fire. The scene shifts to Ethan Kopech, waking up alongside his pregnant girlfriend, Nora. They prepare together to go to their various jobs. We learn that Ethan has been a TSA agent at LAX for 3 years, and his girlfriend works at the same organization as a manager in the airport. Before they board a bus, Nora also asks Ethan to consider reapplying for the police academy, as he failed his first chance to become an officer. Soon after, they arrive at LAX and proceed to their separate jobs. Ethan runs to catch up with time, but yet again, he shows up late, much to his superior's annoyance. However, Officer Williams continues to brief the team about a new directive from the Department of Homeland Security. The order requires issuing a smart pen that detects fake boarding passes. The crew is instructed to report any suspicious activity to their senior officer. Later on, Ethan's friend urges him to work on his punctuality and take his job more seriously, reminding him he now has an unborn child on the way. Ethan, who is now motivated, goes on to approach his supervisor to request a promotion. The supervisor highlights his lateness, and he is rejected. Ethan wasn't going to take no for an answer, so he went into the office to defend himself, expressing his qualifications for the role. Immediately, Ethan's friend kindly offers to step aside in order to let Ethan take over the machine to prove his skills. Nearby, a white van arrives at the airport, and inside it, a man is tied up by a man known as the Watcher. The Watcher then begins to hack into the airport security system, including the cameras. Nora, now at her duty post, gets a curious message from her love, to which she replies back saying she's eager to know, so Nora goes to meet with him. Whereas Ethan receives the smart pen from the officer and takes his place at the machine. Using this chance given to him, he begins scanning the items carefully, staying focused on the task. Back to the traveler, who bumped into Ethan earlier, begins to seek an update from the Watcher outside. Unfortunately, a problem arises as Jason, who is Ethan's friend, was meant to be at the scanning machine, but Ethan is there in his place instead. They begin to do their research on Ethan to find things they could use to tie him down. The Watcher tracks down Ethan's address and discovers he has a girlfriend and a baby on the way. Just then, a customer approaches Ethan, informing him that a property at the P section wasn't hers. She hands it to him. Inside it was an AirPod, so Ethan decided to place it in the lost and found. Immediately, he gets a notification message insisting he put it on. As soon as it's in place, a voice which seems calm but yet menacing delivers a scary threat. Ethan must allow a specific bag to pass through the scanner without alerting anyone, or his girlfriend will be killed. However, Ethan thinks this is all a prank or a test from Eddie to see if he is capable of the job. They inform him that Eddie is just nearby and it's not a prank. The traveler then begins to direct Ethan. He instructs him to let a man wearing a red cap heading for Northwind Flight 1850 pass through security without being checked. The traveler starts listing his friends who are close to him, Nora's home address, and details about his family, including the fact that Jason has twins. Now Ethan realizes this is a serious threat. In desperation, he subtly tries to call 911, hoping to alert someone to the situation. Unfortunately for Ethan, the Watcher catches him and immediately informs the traveler. The traveler quickly explains to Ethan that his men have a rifle aimed at his pregnant girlfriend, ready to fire if he disobeys or anything goes wrong. So, in a panic, Ethan ends the call and locks his phone in a drawer. With his hands now trembling, the traveler's instructions are simple. Just check the luggage. The scene shifts to a detective named Elena arriving at the burnt Christmas tree shop to investigate the murders of the dealers from earlier. The detective finds a watch and opens it. She discovers that it is an ATF bug, a device used by firearms and explosives to spy on criminals, which was owned by the dealer who was wearing it at the time of his death. Back at the airport, everyone begins to hurriedly move to catch up with their flights. Meanwhile, Ethan tries to send an SOS message using his smartwatch. However, the Watcher sees him from his camera. Again, Ethan is forced to put the device away. Back to Detective Elena, she takes the damaged ATF chip to a friend and colleague to help retrieve the data on the chip. After carefully analyzing the chip, the officer manages to recover fragments of audio, but it is badly degraded. At the airport, Ethan begins to scan through the people around, and luckily spots the traveler casually sitting in a nearby chair. Ethan then shuts off the scanner and asks a passenger for their boarding pass. Ethan quickly scribbles details about the traveler's identity with invisible ink and discreetly hands the note to Officer Leo under the guise of routine security protocol. The officer glances at the note, instantly recognizing the gravity of the situation. He heads off to summon backup. Unfortunately, the traveler, always one step ahead, senses that something is wrong. Before the officer can act, the traveler moves towards him and jabs his hand with something that causes Lionel to drop dead to the floor from a heart attack. The traveler stealthily injects him with a syringe containing a fast-acting agent, triggering a fatal heart attack. Now facing the traveler in person, he makes things more clear by issuing a very strict warning, which is, if Ethan tries anything, his men won't hesitate to shoot Nora. He further informs him that his rules are still the same. Nothing much, just clear the luggage for a pass. Ethan gets back to his position, but he is informed that his superior unexpectedly reassigns him to his original post near the metal detector, disrupting the traveler's plan. The traveler warns Ethan that failing to return to his designated position will have deadly consequences. Ethan comes up with a risky plan. Firstly, he steals some alcohol from the store and goes straight to an office to mix the drink in a coffee. Once he was done, Ethan went straight to Jason and swapped it with Jason's drink. Later on, Jason's superior smells the alcohol, releases him from duty, and sends him home. As Jason leaves, he gives Ethan a knowing look, as if he realizes Ethan was the one who exchanged the cup. Ethan takes back his post and reluctantly allows the bag to pass through the scanner without raising any alarm. Officer Elena, now busy trying to piece together the fragmented audio from the ATF chip, soon recognizes it as a deadly neurotoxic chemical infamously used in Russian chemical warfare. Elena immediately contacts Homeland Security. After the bag passes through, Ethan returns the boarding pass to the traveler's goon named Mateo. Later on, Ethan rushes to the restroom to vomit, overwhelmed by guilt. The traveler soon reveals the danger of the deadly chemical, explaining how even a small amount could cause someone to drown in their own blood. Meanwhile, Agent John, who is from the Department of Homeland Security, arrives to review Elena's findings. However, both Elena's captain and the agent are skeptical of her conclusions, as they can't declare martial law over soft lead. Just then, her colleague interrupts, informing her that a 911 call had been placed from inside X, registered under Ethan Kopech. Ethan meets up with his girlfriend Nora, and they have a long conversation. He informs her about his promotion at the office. Nora is not happy about this, as she knows this won't make him happy. Back to Elena, they concluded their investigation, and immediately the police arrived at the Northwind terminal to investigate the potential threat. Ethan's superior informs the crew that the cops are here to conduct random security checks on 50 passengers as a precautionary measure. Ethan secretly accesses the scanner logs, logging in with his superior's credentials, and manually flags Mateo, the traveler's associate, for inspection. Once everyone leaves, Jason approaches Ethan and informs him that he knows what Ethan had done and warns him not to talk to him again. The public address system announces Mateo's name, instructing him to report to security immediately. The traveler realizes Ethan is behind the disruption. Furious, he prepares to take action. Ethan, now overwhelmed by fear and guilt, decides to run to save his girlfriend. The Watcher drives to a secluded area and prepares his weapon. Just as Ethan reaches Nora, he notices a red laser tracing her head. A sniper's aim. Nora confronts him. She demands to know if he was responsible for Jason's sudden dismissal. Before Ethan can respond, the traveler warns Ethan, threatening to shoot Nora. Ethan backs away. The traveler meets Ethan in the bathroom and a fight ensues, with Ethan struggling to defend himself. Just then, Ethan grabs a gun, points it at the traveler, and threatens him to call off the snipers targeting Nora. However, instead of calling off the sniper, he activates a timer for the weapon in the luggage to detonate in just 10 minutes. Realizing the situation, Ethan races to stop the explosion. When he reaches the location, he finds his superior with Mateo. The traveler encourages Ethan to shoot his supervisor. Ethan hesitates, but just then, Mateo stabs the supervisor with a pen, killing him. Mateo reveals to Ethan that just like him, he's just another guy controlled by the traveler. Mateo's husband has been taken hostage, and he's been forced to obey the traveler's orders. With the help of the traveler, Ethan manages to defuse the weapon. As Elena and Agent John drive to the airport, Elena receives a call from her colleague. The colleague informs her that LAX has sent over a list of high-profile individuals, including 4 Marines. However, the conversation takes a disturbing turn when Elena discovers that the agent with her is just impersonating Agent John. A huge fight ensues while they drive. Their vehicles crash, and fortunately for her, she eliminates him. Mateo and Ethan try to dispose of Ethan's superior's body. The traveler then orders Mateo to kill Ethan, but he escapes. Mateo chases Ethan down with a gun, trying to kill him, but he accidentally shoots himself. Ethan grabs Mateo's phone and attempts to call Nora, but she doesn't pick up. He then messages one of his colleagues, urgently warning him that Nora is in danger. Immediately, the traveler approaches Ethan and insists that he give him the bag, but Ethan runs with it. Agent Elena arrives at the airport and immediately begins to ask for Ethan. Nearby, Ethan's friend gets a hold of Nora and shows her the message about the terrorist and to look out for a van with a sniper. Just then, the Watcher arrives, and Nora sees him. He begins to walk towards them. Ethan's friend then tries to stop him, but unfortunately for him, the Watcher stabs him. He then chases after Nora with a car, but crashes, giving Nora an opportunity to hide. Agent Elena finds Ao's lifeless body, and just then Ethan runs out, tries to explain things to her, which she wasn't ready to listen to. As she proceeds to handcuff him, Ethan knocks the gun out of her hand and escapes while spilling more information to her about the traveler. Back to Nora, she attacks the Watcher to escape. Just as she does so, Ethan finds her, and the two then foolishly decide to hug at that moment. As they do so, the Watcher arrives yet again, but Jesse shoots him, saving them. Jesse reveals that the traveler is actually heading straight to Washington, D.C., and not New York. The traveler arrives, and a lady who gave Ethan the AirPod from earlier then delivers a bag with tickets to the traveler. The traveler is now on the plane. His luggage can't fit into the carry-on, so a flight attendant insists that she'd take it back to cargo. Nora and Ethan figure out which plane the traveler is on. Ethan tells Nora that the only way to prevent a catastrophe is to let the plane take off. Elena receives a call from her colleague, who realized the grand plan orchestrated by the traveler is one of the congresswomen who is attempting to pass a bill that would greatly benefit weapons manufacturers. Nora defines Detective Elena and informs her of the situation, hoping it will help prevent disaster. Ethan gets into the cargo and begins to disarm the weapon. The traveler, hearing about the situation, immediately heads straight toward his luggage. He finds Ethan and threatens him to drop the luggage. Ethan refuses, and he shoots him. Ethan grabs the weapon and locks the traveler in the cargo fridge with one of his chemicals, which eventually kills him. The plane lands, and Detective Elena offers Ethan a job as a police officer. A year later, Ethan, now a father, has happily settled with Nora, raising their child together.